In our last video, we talked about light and revelation through a Judeo-Christian lens, its meaning in Genesis and ties to Revelation. In this video, we will look back to the ancient Greeks and see what their stories can tell us about light. While familiarity with my previous video isn't necessary, I recommend you watch it for a more complete understanding of the themes we'll be exploring here. With that being said, let's dive into it. Today, we will be talking about Prometheus, his role in the Greek motif of fire thief, Zeus's punishments and what warnings they represent, the idea of fire's role for humanity, literally and metaphorically, and how this all relates to the concept of light. Our understandings of Prometheus, the titan god of ancient Greek mythology, comes mostly from the Greek poet Hesiod in his epic Theogony. His writings tell us a story of oppression, grand rebellion, triumph, and utter fall. In this story, Prometheus had tricked Zeus into picking a lesser of two options for human sacrificial offerings, having him pick bones and fat instead of meat to give to the gods. In anger, Zeus took fire away from humans, casting their life into hardship and darkness. Prometheus, a hero to humanity, took pity on these events and snuck into the forge of Hephaestus and Athena, taking fire from the gods and sneaking it back down Mount Olympus to give to humanity. Once his actions were discovered, Zeus chose his punishment to be chained to a rock and have his liver eaten and regrown each day. The liver being the organ Greeks thought contained emotions, and by extension connected directly to the spirit. For humans, Zeus punished with the sending of Pandora and her box to release all the ills of the world. First, let's talk about the archetype that Prometheus plays in this story. He is the fire thief of our story. The Greek poem pins him as a titan, a precursor of the gods, but a sympathetic and empathetic being. Some stories have him as the being that molded man from clay, giving us life. But let's focus on this particular story for now. And in this one, he is the savior of knowledge, technology, progress, reclaiming the means of society for humans: fire. Prometheus was not the only mythological figure to steal fire and give it to mankind. This motif repeats all throughout humanity in multiple ways. Ikagan steals fire and gives it to humans in the stories of the peoples in South Africa. In the Americas, the native peoples have a similar story in which usually an animal, rabbit or possum or the like, steals fire to give to humans. The Hindu Sanskrit sutras of Rigveda says it was Madavarsan that reclaimed hidden fire for man. In the Middle East, it was Parhamet or Amarani. In Polynesia, it was Maui, demigod of many feats, who stole fire for humanity, and so on and so on. Every story has fire either lost or held secretly by an entity or being, hoarded by them and kept from humanity. Then a being, hero, god, demi or otherwise, reclaims the flame for mankind. So, what does this have to do with light? Well, that part is in the idea of fire itself. Fire has always been a center of the community, the central point of the tribe during the night, during ceremonies, rituals, and rites. The communal fire is there. Sacrifices sent to gods by Greeks, Norse, Native American tribes, and many more are burnt in a hearth or fire. The fire is the spiritual and physical focal point of our ancient ancestors. It meant the difference between literal life and death for entire communities. The introduction of fire to humans holds the idea of humanity first starting on the creation of society. The very first step on the staircase towards nirvana, enlightenment, knowledge, and much more, depending on the culture in question. Nonetheless, the theme is the same. Fire is the starting point for our species on a spiritual and physical level. But why is this so? It comes down to what fire produces: heat and light. Fire was the first instance of humans being able to contain, create, control, and move light. They had a physical grasp on the substance of revelation with the creation of fire. It let them push back the darkness of the unknown void and create a safe zone of the known around them. Before, threats and predators lurked in the dark unknown beyond our vision. Our most ancient ancestors protected themselves by sleeping and living in trees, though that did not work forever. And eventually, as humans walked upright on flat land, they needed something to reveal the world around them so they may see threats to their lives. Just as many stories talk about monsters that fear fire or are killed by it, so is the bleakness of the void killed by the revelation of light by the fire. We made fire so we cast out the blackness of night around us and basked in the protection of its revelation. Humans congregated together around the fire for survival, and as time went on, it took on a spiritual nature, being the focus of our dinners, ceremonies, and gatherings. The fire of man separates for humans the safety of the known, that which is bathed in its light, and the dangers of the unknown, the darkness beyond. The boundary is created by the light of the fire at the center of our species, the collected knowledge of humanity, its education in math, science, art, religion. It is the encompassment of the metaphorical fire at the center of all of us. Everything beyond the darkness is the unknown, and if we want to learn more as a species, we must bring people together and add their light and their knowledge to the fire of humanity, making it bigger, brighter. The more we come together, the brighter our fire. When Prometheus stole into the night and brought back fire to humanity, he was not bringing back something so trivial as the ability to cook food, or warm our homes and kill vampires, but something more profound. Prometheus was returning the concept of truth and light to humans, where before Zeus's punishment made humans subservient to the gods. We relied on them for everything without light, without fire, protection, knowledge. Truth itself was a gift or blessing cast down by the gods on us lowly humans below. But when Prometheus brought light back to us, it broke that oppressive balance. He gave humans the ability to rebel against the gods. Gods do not have the monopoly anymore. We don't need them like we did back then. The dark ages of the gods are over, and we enter the enlightenment of the age of man. Thus, why Prometheus's punishment was so harsh: to be physically held, and each day having your emotions, your connection between mind and spirit, eaten out of you and regrown each day. Zeus was in essence forcing Prometheus to live through humanity's loss and regaining of light and knowledge, independence and connection, again and again every day. A fitting poetic end. Though he does get released later by Hercules, Zeus's son no less. A son repenting and making right the sins of the father is also a repeating motif in humanity, but that is a discussion for another day. Where were we? Yes, of course, fire and light. As we went over, it is both physical and metaphorical, a staple at the hearts of society and humans alike. The burning heat of someone's heart, or fiery passion, is a linguistic take on this concept. The hearth as the center of the home is a more physical representation of the idea, though now we center our homes around not the light of the fireplace, but the light of the television. We still can't help but orient ourselves to the light. But there is one last part of Prometheus' story we need to discuss. That is the risk of going too far. Humans have always strived forward in our pursuit of knowledge, in science and literature, and so much more. We push so hard sometimes we do not think of the consequences of our actions, just as Prometheus did not think of the punishments he would receive for tricking Zeus and stealing fire, his own punishment and humanity's. Pandora and her box, which Zeus sent down to humans, is what happens when humanity pushes too far, releasing suffering and plague and death. Just as we did with the creation of our weapons, our uncaring march for scientific progress, experiments, casualties, suffering, to the point that sometimes we focus so much on the progress part, it's like we are separated from our spirit and our morals, our emotions ripped from us as we lay chained to our ignorance in the search for more knowledge. Our fire grows too large to contain, to keep subdued, and we pay the price. As they say, if you play with fire, you get burned. Prometheus, while a titan god in the story, in concept is mankind itself. He represents us, our attempt to trick the universe into revealing its secrets, stealing the knowledge from the void beyond without the thought of consequences. Because there are always consequences. We will lose ourselves and our passions, our hearts and spirits, unless we keep this story in mind. We think of Prometheus and his punishments, what pain was wrought upon mankind, and ask, is our fire large enough? Do we need to keep going? Or should we wait? Take a moment with our friends and family around the fireplace and enjoy a moment or two to think. That is my thoughts on Prometheus, the fire thief. What do you all think, listeners? Tell me in the comments below and share with your friends if you liked the video. In the next one, we shift once more away from the Greeks and focus on a creature instead. One that encompasses a lot of the ideas we talked about in this video and the last one. Be ready, listeners, because in our next video, we talk about dragon's fire.